On the harmattan morning, when the wind wore dust like a thin shawl, a boy with a wristwatch big enough to measure his ego pushed a trolley toward the quickest checkout. He wore a hoodie that said Kusi across the chest, as if the letters were a tribe. His name was Kojo Kusi Jr., and his friends called him KJ when they wanted to borrow his father's car and forget to return it with fuel. He did not look at the old women counting coins over Gary. He did not see the toddler in a faded lion shirt making a fortress of yam tubers. He saw a line as a thing to jump, not a lesson to learn. At the head of the line stood Amina Sule, a cashier with eyes like rain that knows how to wait and hands that made change the way drummers make truth. Steady, exact. KJ tossed his energy drinks onto her conveyor as if feeding a pet that bored him, then waved a black card the way a chief waves a fly whisk. "Quick, quick, sister," he said, loud enough to invite a crowd. "Some of us have meetings." Amina looked up, saw a boy trying to grow taller by cutting others down, and smiled the way sea women smile at city men who call waves small. "Good morning," she said. "Your phone number for loyalty?" He rolled his eyes. "I am the loyalty. Do you know who I—" He stopped because a woman in a wax print wrapper and simple headscarf had stepped into the next line, pushing a basket of she soap and oranges. Her face was ordinary, in the way baobab shadows are ordinary, until the noon sun remembers what respect is. She glanced once at KJ and looked away, as if to give him a chance to meet his own eyes without witnesses. Her name, though no one in the store knew it yet, was Adjoa Kusi, KJ's mother, and the CEO of Kusi Retail Group. This morning she came without her name, because some truths must be seen with the dust still on them. The talking drum inside the store, the one named Gossip, muttered in the shelves, "Watch this boy, watch this woman, watch the receipts." The night before, Madame Adjoa had stood on her balcony and watched the city light up its pride like a wedding. She reread a report about customer experience, full of charts that looked like praise and a paragraph tucked in the back that sounded like a cough. Complaints at city center branch, tone from staff inconsistent, notes of class insults from certain customers. She remembered her father, who built the first Kusi shop with a table, a scale, and a vow. "We will sell rice and respect. The second must never be out of stock." So she tied her wrapper, slipped off her CEO's name like a bangle, and went to see with the eyes that built the table. She sent one text to herself in the mirror. "If the house is leaking, sit under it when it rains." Then she turned off the lights and slept like a hunter who has chosen a path and will not explain it to the bush. If the tale is finding you, let it travel. Like to carry the drumbeat, share with someone who has stood in a line and learned a lesson, and comment, "Where are you reading from, and what time is it there?" City plus time helps part 2 cross more rivers. Her tale, a tale, let it be told. KJ thumped his card down. "Scan this and don't waste my." Amina raised a finger, not rude, just the small traffic light that keeps accidents from marrying impatience. "Please," she said. "Bag or no bag?" Her voice had no corners. "Bag," he snapped, "and be careful with the watch." He held up his wrist. The watch was new money gold. You could tell by how hard it tried to talk. Behind him, a pensioner with a walking stick adjusted his weight and smiled at the oranges in Madame Adjoa's basket. "Sweet ones," he said to her in Twi, "from the women who sing at dawn." "They sing better than we buy," she answered, soft. They looked together at KJ, who had begun to perform, there is no other word for it, the theatre of entitlement that streams well but ages badly. "You people should train your staff," KJ said to the air, which he mistook for an audience. "They act like this is charity." He turned back to Amina. "Do you know whose money built this store?" Amina finished scanning, the scanner beep thrum insistent as a heart. "The communities," she said. "Seat taxes, bread levies, pepper merchants, and mothers who stretch cash like elastic." She met his eyes without standing on tiptoe. "And your mothers, maybe." A polite laugh bubbled from a few throats. KJ colored, the color of stew when someone drops too much pepper as if to prove a point. "My mother owns this place," he said, "so watch your tongue." "Tongues watch themselves," Amina said, and the old man in the back muttered a proverb into his walking stick. "A man who borrows his father's shadow should not insult the sun." KJ leaned in, the way boys do when they want fear to grow for them like a beard. You're talking back. I'm talking to, Amina corrected. Back is for people who have left. You are in front of me, sir. Madame Adjoa placed a shea bar on the counter of the next till and greeted the cashier there with the kind of good morning that waters dry places. She did not rescue anyone. She measured. Her father had taught her. If you step into every quarrel with a title on your forehead, you will teach people to love the title and forget the lesson. Please enter PIN, Amina said. KJ waved the card again. Tap. It asked for PIN, she replied. Machines are stubborn, like goats. A tiny smile moved the corner of her mouth, there and gone, and someone's shoulders shook with a swallowed laugh. KJ jabbed the pad, then looked up. Receipt, he snapped his fingers, and don't fold it. My accountant will reconcile. My accountant is me, the old man with the stick said cheerfully, and KJ granted him the mercy of being invisible. Amina tore the receipt with a smooth flick and extended it. KJ snatched, glanced, and found the line that pricked him like a thorn. Staff discount declined. What is this? He said, voice going up to where boys live before they learn gravity. I'm family. Amina looked at the receipt and then at him. You are not staff, she said. The family discount is for staff families. We have rules so cousins of cousins don't make the store their pocket. I am the CEO's son, he announced, pushing the words out like a boat that hasn't learned to float. I can get you fired. The store actually went quiet then, the way rooms do when truth is about to flip over and show its belly. Even the fridge hummed in a lower key. Ah, said Madame Adjoa softly, to no one and everyone. She added a bag of rice to her basket, as if adjusting a sentence. Amina did not bow, did not burn. I hope, she said, the CEO raised a son who knows receipts also record behavior. She nodded at the little camera above the lane that had watched more weddings than fights. KJ followed her gaze and made a show of adjusting his hoodie. Keep the change, he said, leaving nothing because some boys think wit is the same as wealth. He swept his bag off the counter, bumped a stack of plantain chips, and did not look back when a few fell. A child darted, rescued them, and returned them to the shelf with the solemnity of a small priest. KJ's phone pinged. A message from Mother. Are you eating? He typed back, yes. He did not see the second message that arrived as he reached the door. I am watching. He left in the scent of energy drink and impatience, and the doors sighed behind him as if relieved to handle air again. The queue exhaled. Amina rang the next item, looked at the old man's oranges, and reached for a small sticker. Sweet, she said. I know the woman who sings. She weighed, she smiled, she made change without making debt. When Madame Adjoa reached her, she placed her basket gently on the counter, the way a drummer places hands on a talking drum to mute it for respect. Good morning, sister, she said, meeting Amina's eye the way equals do. Good morning, Amina answered, chin rising a fraction, recognizing something without naming it. Please, Madame Adjoa said, may I have 2 receipts? Amina blinked. 2? One for the food, the woman in wrapper said, and one for a different account. She slid a plain envelope across, already addressed. To Future Kusi Staff Fund, Emergency and Education. Amina's face changed like harmattan when the wind remembers rain. We don't, she began, then stopped. She took the envelope, weighed it, and nodded. We do now, she said. The old man touched the counter. Daughter, he told Amina, tonight when you cook, greet your stew with the hand that took that envelope. A tale, let it be told. That afternoon, when the sun slipped drowsy over tins of sardines and sacks of rice, a short memo appeared on the staff board, in a handwriting that had history in it. Tomorrow 7 a.m. All staff in the break room, bring your ears. Akusi Mr. Mensah, the store manager, stared at the signature, felt sweat locate his spine, and went in search of a tie that remembered how to behave. Break rooms have 2 smells, soup and soap. The Kusi break room had both, plus the small proud stink of mops that have worked past their strength. Staff squeezed in on plastic chairs that complain about weight in a friendly way. A clock on the wall judged everyone equally. At 7:03, Madame Ajoa entered, still in wrapper, still without the necklace that announces appointments. She looked like someone's aunt, come to settle a quarrel over inheritance. Mr. Mensah rose as if his chair had pushed him. "Madam, CEO, ma'am," he said, trying out titles like dresses. "Good morning," she replied, taking nothing and giving nothing more. She stood at the whiteboard and wrote 2 words, "Receipts, speak." A tale, she said softly. "Let it be told," answered 3 old hands who had grown up on stories before policy learned to walk. She told them about her father, about the table and the scale and the vow, rice and respect. She told them about the report and the balcony and the wrapper. She told them she had watched yesterday not as spectacle but as a blood pressure reading for a house that bears her name. "We are not a shop," she said. "We are a promise with shelves." She nodded at the security guard, who switched on the small TV with a USB input. A silent clip played, KJ at the till, the snap of the card, Amina's steady hands, the plantain chips' small rescue by the child. No sound, just faces, just a room telling on itself. "This is not a court," she said. "It is a well. We came to draw water." She turned, opened the door, and called, "Kojo." He entered. No hoodie, clean shirt. The watch had learned modesty. He scanned the room and found ordinary people looking at him like a mirror. He tried to stand like a man who belongs in rooms where truth is being portioned fairly. "My son," she said. No more, no less. The room shifted. Some eyes widened, some narrowed. Amina's eyes didn't move. Only her breath did. She did not save him. She did not slaughter him. She gave him a knife and a yam and asked him to prove he knew the difference. "Kojo," she said, "what did you buy yesterday?" He swallowed. "Drinks. Chips." "I saw those on the receipt," she said. "What else?" Silence. The staff's heartbeat slowed so the question could be heard with clean ears. He tried. "Time?" he ventured. "Small." "Whose?" she asked. "Everyone's," he said, the word surprised to find itself true. "What else?" she asked. He looked at the screen, at himself, at the boy who had borrowed his mother's shadow and used it to shade his laziness. "Shame," he said, "and I tried to make debt. On the store. On her." He nodded at Amina. "On the name." Somewhere in the back, a plastic chair stopped complaining. Amina's chin dipped. The room allowed the boy one step onto ground he had not earned. "This store," Madame Ajoa said, "has a policy. We wrote it when the second shop was born. Kusi does not sell dignity to buy speed. Somehow along the way, we started selling it in teaspoons, calling it VIP service." She turned to Mr. Mensah. "Manager." He stood like a tailor facing cloth that might betray his scissors. "Madam, you will remove the staff family discount from any customer not listed on a staff record," she said. "If a manager calls to ask for it, you will require a form and publish the form on that wall. If I call, you will ask me to fill my own form." He nodded, swallowed. "Yes, madam." "You will establish a cash box called Receipts of Respect," she continued, "funded by 1% of net profit and 1% of executive bonuses. Managers who are caught accelerating lines by humiliating cashiers will pay into that box. Courtesy fines. Customers who misbehave and later repent may pay there too if repentance is the kind that eats from its own bowl." A murmur, surprised, amused, approving, a little afraid, stirred the room. She looked at Kojo. "You will pay today. Not because you are my son, because you are a customer whose mouth outpaced his manners." He nodded. "Yes, ma." He took out his wallet, the way a man removes a thorn, and put in an amount that made the box clink a different note. The staff watched not the money, but the shape his shoulders had to make to do it. "Now," she said, "punishment without apprenticeship is politics. Apprenticeship without accountability is gossip. So, Kojo, here is your assignment." She wrote on the board, 30 days as cashier trainee on Amina's shift. Wages donated to the Receipts of Respect box. Journal, Every day, one story of a customer that taught you something, and one story of a staff member you helped. Saturday Griot Hour. Assist in hosting a short circle where staff tell one story of dignity kept or recovered that week. Cookies provided, excuses not accepted. Laughter like small bells. Someone clapped once, then remembered where they were. Kojo looked at Amina, not through her. "If you will have me," he said. Amina's mouth decided, then her head followed. "I will have you," she said. "Bring your hands. Leave your watch." "Why?" he asked, almost smiling. "Her watch's slow hands," she said, and the room's laughter warmed. She faced the staff. "One more item," she said. "We will carve a listening bench outside by the almond tree where the bus stops. On it we will write, 'Rice and Respect,' in my father's hand, which the sign painter will copy. Any staff who is humiliated may go there for 10 minutes without losing pay. Any manager who humiliates will sit there 1 hour with a paper that says, 'I forgot what the bench remembers.' Any customer who refuses to learn will be invited to sit and read the proverb until the bus comes." Mr. Mensah tried not to smile. He failed. "Yes, madam." She took a breath and let silence sit, like a guest of honor. "Madam?" Amina's hand rose. "Yes." "May I add to the policy?" "Add. 2 words. Ask first. When a customer seems to need help, language, hearing, counting, ask first, then offer. Not shout, not decide. Ask. We will print it above the tills." The CEO's eyes softened. "Accepted," she said. "Print it." She turned back to her son. "Kojo." "Mother." "Do not call me CEO here." "Mother," he said again. Something unclenched in the staff's faces that had nothing to do with payroll. The meeting closed. People stood in that slow-way room stand when sense has been served, and everyone wants to taste it a little longer. As they left, the staff each touched the whiteboard with one finger, the way believers touch a shrine, not magic, memory. In the afternoon, a carpenter traced letters on a plank for the listening bench, while a schoolgirl sharpened pencils for the sign maker in exchange for a packet of chin-chin. A boy in a lion shirt watched, serious with the solemn industry children bring to afternoons when adults have chosen well. Kojo took his place at till 3. The scanner beeped. Amina watched his hands like a drummer watching a novice, ready to fold the rhythm around mistakes. The first customer was a nurse on night shift. He bagged her sardines and bread as if handling medicine. The second was a mason. They spoke about cement and the weather, and he learned that weather is cement's boss. The third was the old man with the oranges. "Young man," he said, "did you see how your mother entered without noise and left with a bench?" Kojo grinned, surprised at how much space a grin can make in the chest. "I saw. A tale, let it be told. The bench, the box, and the boy who learned to count again." The listening bench arrived dressed in fresh varnish. The sign painter copied Rice and Respect in a careful hand that trembled only once at the curve of the P as if tears had a letter. They bolted the bench to the concrete because wisdom should be difficult to steal. An almond tree shed its first leaves of the season as if to christen the wood with shade. On the first Saturday Griot Hour, staff gathered under the almond, the receipts box on a small table, the CEO in her wrapper, the manager with a tray of anise cookies, the security guard with tea. Kojo arrived wearing a plain t-shirt like a boy who has been invited to stop auditioning and start living. Amina opened the circle with a proverb. A receipt is a story that remembers numbers. Then she told a short tale of the week, a woman who could not read and a girl who could. How ask first avoided shame. How a quiet stool can be a throne if you honor who sits there. They dropped a note into the box for a customer who returned the next day with an apology, and a handful of coins he did not need to give but wanted to. Kojo shared his first journal entry aloud. "Monday," he read. "A mason whose hands said fatigue before his mouth did. I bagged too slowly." He said softly, "Young master, speed is not rudeness if your face is kind." I practiced. A cashier named Lami taught me to look at people's shoes to know whether to double bag. Today I helped a woman get a refund for a leaking oil tin without making her feel like a thief. I did not know a till could be a teacher. The circle nodded. A cookie disappeared. The world adjusted its belt. The weeks became a book with 30 pages. On day 6, Kojo miscounted change. A boy in a lion shirt corrected him with the courage of small judges. Kojo thanked him. The boy announced he would be a cashier astronaut. "Carry extra oxygen at the till," Kojo advised solemnly, and the mother laughed until she forgot her list and bought cake. On day 11th, a man in a suit demanded a discount because he knew the owner. Kojo pointed to the wall where the new policy paper hung and said, "So do I." And the room hummed. On day 14th, Amina sent Kojo to sit on the bench, not for punishment but for practice. "Learn to hear with your back," she said. He sat, he watched, he listened to bus breaks and gossip, and the sound of hunger when it pretends it is only hurry. A grandmother sat beside him and told him how to haggle for pepper without making a woman's day smaller. He wrote it down. On day 19th, a man laughed at a girl who stuttered her request. Kojo heard his own ghost snarl at him from last month. He raised a palm. "Ask first," he said to the man. "Then help. Here we do not turn impatience into policy." The man's mouth closed, then opened in apology. He put a note in the receipts box and left with one of the anise cookies, because forgiveness should have spice. On day 23, the bench saw its first manager's hour. Mr. Mensah had snapped at a packer in the lunch rush. He sat paper pinned to his shirt. I forgot what the bench remembers. Staff didn't jeer. They greeted him. A girl from produce brought ground nuts. He used the hour to write a list of words he would stop using at work. Later, he posted it above his desk. The first word was stupid. The second was later when he meant never. The third was VIP when he meant bullied. By the time day 30 came, Kojo's hands were faster, his mouth quieter, his eyes better. He had learned prices by weight, jokes by need, and that some people don't want you to speed, they want you to see. The closing ritual was simple. Under the almond at griot hour, Amina handed Kojo a small cloth-bound ledger embossed with a single word: count. "Numbers," she said, "and people." He opened it. Inside, the staff had written short notes. "You bagged without breaking the bread. Lami, you asked my father to sit when his knees shook. He remembered your face when the medicine worked. Nana, pharmacy. You ate jollof in the break room without ranking it. This is rare wisdom. Kwesi, security." Madame Adjoa spoke last. "When my father died," she said, "we put a scale on his coffin, not as a joke, as a promise. We promised to keep weighing things honestly. Rice, words, treatment. Today, we add a bench to our altar. The scale will remain in headquarters. The bench will remain at every store we open, from Kumasi to Kisangani." She turned to Kojo. "My son, you will return to your studies, but you will come back every month for one shift at a till, not as punishment, as passport. You will keep this ledger. If a board member wants to know whether Kusi is healthy, we will show them two things: cash flow and your pages." He nodded, eyes stinging with dust that did not exist. "Yes, mother." She faced the staff. "Promotions." She smiled at Mr. Mensah's surprise. "Amina Sul, you are now trainer of cashiers and keeper of benches. You will teach ask first and hands like drums to every new hire. You will carry a budget line. Bring me the things benches need to do their work." Amina blinked, then bowed her head the distance between pride and humility. "I accept," she said, "on one condition." The CEO raised an eyebrow. "Name it." "Put my old till in the training room," Amina said. "Let the babies of the company learn on a register that has seen both bad and good behavior." "Done," Madame Adjoa said. The receipts of respect box grew heavy enough to pay for 3 staff emergency needs in 2 months. A child's hospital bill, a bus fare for a funeral, a set of school books that smelled like beginning. Each time the box made a small chime when opened, like a bell in a temple that has decided to learn to cook. News traveled, other stores copied. Some laughed, some learned. Competitors rolled their eyes and then rolled benches out front, quietly, because customers have long memories and short patience. One afternoon, a video appeared online, a rough clip of KJ at the till, smiling with a nurse about night shifts, with captions someone in marketing had the sense to make simple. It wasn't a redemption arc with trumpets. It was a boy putting rice and respect in the same bag. The comments stacked with cities and times. Abuja, 11:08 p.m. We need this bench here. Mombasa, 1:08 a.m. Watching on break, bless the cashier. Cape Town, 12:08 a.m. Crying into my rooibos, my mum worked tills. Kumasi, 10:08 p.m. I know that almond tree. A tale, let it be told. On Founders' Day, the stores closed for 1 hour at noon. Staff in aprons and ties and wrappers stood by benches and scales across the country. At the flagship, under the same almond, Madam Ajoa read her father's vow and added the new line, "We will sell rice and respect. The second must never be out of stock. If it is, the CEO will come in a wrapper and restock it herself." They laughed and then didn't. She placed a bag of rice on the scale and a folded wrapper on the bench, and both balanced. Later, Kojo sat alone on the bench. He touched the carved words with one finger, the way believers test their relics, rice and respect. He thought of the day he thought himself a king, because a watch knew his name, and he tried to be angry at his old self and failed. Pity arrived, stronger and kinder. He opened his ledger and wrote, "Day 31, after." Then, I mocked a cashier and met a mirror. I met a bench and learned to sit. I met my mother without her crown and learned why she deserves it. I met a receipt and learned it talks long after the customer leaves. I met my name and decided to keep it, but quiet. Someone sat beside him, a child in a lion shirt. "When I grow," the boy said without preface, "I will be a cashier astronaut. Do you know how to scan bread in space?" "You anchor it," Kojo said, "with respect." The boy nodded like a board member. Good. Evenings came cool. Harmattan went to rest. The bench wore polish, then fingerprints, then stories. Amina trained with jokes and with precision. Mr. Mensah's list of forbidden words grew long enough to be a poem. The receipts box learned to be refilled without shame, because generosity becomes a habit when you let it. And if you pass the Kusi at city center, you will see an almond tree, and under it a bench, and on that bench sometimes a manager, sometimes a cashier, sometimes a customer, who was asked first and answered yes. You may see a woman in a wrapper buying rice and soap. She looks ordinary until you ask her name and she says, "Kusi," and the store stands a little straighter. A tale, let it be told. The telling is finished. The lesson keeps selling.